In this video, we'll have a look at ways that we can make fractions easier to look at, or simplifying. Sometimes when we see a fraction like this, so 35/70ths, we can get a bit freaked out because, for a couple of reasons, they're really, really big numbers, first of all, and second of all, it might be hard to make sense of how much that might be in terms of a pie or a cake. Well, there are some things that we can do just to make it easy to understand, and simplifying is one of those things. So to simplify a fraction like this, what we need to do is find the highest common factor of both the numerator, so 35, and the denominator, 70. And the highest common factor is just the highest number that we can find that goes into both of those numbers evenly. So in this case, the highest common factor is 35. So I'm going to change my pen color to red. So I can divide the top by 35 and the bottom by 35, and that will give us a brand new fraction that is equivalent, but it's much easier to look at. It's simplified. So 35 divided by 35, well, that will give us 1 because they're both the same number. And 70 divided by 35, well, 35 goes into 70 twice. So we've got 2. 1 over 2, or 1/2. Now that is much easier to understand because we all know what 1/2 of a cake or a pie is. Now you might be freaking out because you don't know your 35 times tables. Well, neither do I. You can actually do this in a few smaller steps, and this generally makes it a bit easier for me. What I like to do is, okay, think of any number that goes into both, and it doesn't have to be the highest number. So I know that 7 goes into both of those, so I can divide the top and the bottom by 7. Blue. Oh no, I undid the wrong bit. Anyway, so we had 35 over 70. This one will have to be in red. So if I divide the top by 7, well, 7 goes into 35 5 times, and 7 goes into 70 10 times. So I've made an equivalent fraction, and I've simplified it a little bit, but I can keep going. It's not in its simplest form yet. So again, just like last time, I have to think of a number that can go into both 5 and 10. Well, you might say 1 goes into both, but if we divide the top and bottom by 1, we'll get the same fraction, so I won't bother with that number. You could also say that 5 goes into both. If I divide the top by 5 and the bottom by 5, I'll get another equivalent fraction. So 5 divided by 5 gives us 1 because they're the same number. And 10 divided by 5, that gives us 2. So I've got a few equivalent fractions here. I've got 5/10 and 1/2. Can I keep going? Well, let's have a look. Is there a number that goes into both 1 and 2 evenly? Well, the only one that I can think of is 1. So if I divide the top and the bottom by 1, well, I'll actually just get the same thing. So the answer is no, you can't keep going on. So 35/70ths, that massive confusing fraction that we had at the start, well, that in its simplest form is 1 over 2, or 1/2. So let's have a look at another example. In this case, we have 6/21. So if I'm trying to think of a number that goes into both of those evenly, well, the only one that I can think of is 3. I know that 3 goes into 6, so if I divide the top by 3 and the bottom by 3, let's see what we get. So I give myself an empty fraction. So 6 divided by 3, well, 3 goes into 6 twice. And 21 divided by 3, well, 3 goes into 21 7 times. So 6/21 simplified turns into 2/7. Now they're both equivalent fractions, but this one here, that 2/7, is in its simplest form. How do I know that it's in its simplest form? Well, I can't really think of any other numbers that go into both 2 and 7 evenly. I can't keep going, so I stop there.